Hi, this is the second part of my AC Revelations Ghost Run. If you want to check out part 1, I'll link it here somewhere. Anyway, part 2 will be on the second sequence of AC Revelations. For the ghosting rules, check them out in the description below. With that said, let's start. Sequence 2 begins with Old Man Ezio writing a comprehensive letter to his sister Claudia, talking about the door he found that may store the answers he has been looking for. Cause you see, in AC Revelations, Ezio is a bit confused of what he has been fighting and living for. At this time, he has felt as if he was a moth drawn forward to a distant moon, oblivious to his purpose. After a brief transition, we then find ourselves on a boat where we first meet Suleiman. Here, Ezio didn't really learn much about him and we won't until later. We also first see Sofia here, who will become an integral character later on. Not long after getting off the boat, we meet with Yusuf, the leader of the Ottoman Brotherhood and someone who will become very close with Ezio. In this meeting, he will utter the iconic words,
Auditori de la. Prego. Forgive me.
After some more exposition, we eventually start with the first memory. This mission actually starts pretty slow. We just walk and talk a lot with Yusuf, learning about Constantinople. Nothing interesting really happens in the first few minutes. We just walk around town and talk. Then, while passing through a street and coming up some stairs, some Templars begin to attack us. We got shot from above, but thankfully that guy was a terrible shot. Like, he was really terrible. We were moving very slowly and he wasn't even that far. But anyway, Yusuf counters with a little knife throw, killing the sniper instantly. This then led to a fight which asked me to kill the enemies that ambushed us. Now, since this was a ghost run, I opted to use my fist to potentially do some non-lethal takedowns. However, Yusuf took down those soldiers faster than Ubisoft recalled the Torrygate figurines, and so I had no time to take down the enemies with my bare hands. After the fight, another group of enemies came running at us. Fortunately, some of the city people hate them as well, so they were chased off by some of the city guards.
Watch. Byzantium is dead, as are you.
And we went back to our walk. Eventually, we arrived at the Assassin's HQ where we met more of the Brotherhood members. After a bit of chatter, Yusuf told us that we need to fix our gear since they are rusty and broken, which was true. So we went out to earn some coins and get our gear fixed. Since we are an assassin doing our best to help innocent people, the best way to earn coins is to pickpocket the good people of the city, apparently. Ezio only needed 343 coins or whatever currency this is, and so I only pickpocketed a few people to earn enough. After purchasing the armor, I went back to talk to Yusuf about what to do next. This part was mostly a tutorial for the basic moves for the Hookblade. So we climbed to the roof where Yusuf taught me to extend my reach with the Hookblade and some other stuff. But the most important thing that I learned about the Hookblade is the hook and run ability. This ability allows me to throw an enemy into the ground, which would be very helpful during fistfights where I try to only knock out enemies. Aside from this, there's also a hook counter that wasn't taught in this tutorial but is basically a non-lethal takedown counter. This move will be helpful in future fights. With the Hookblade tutorial done, I went back to Yusuf where he says the famous lines.
The standard Ottoman Hookblade has two parts, you see. The hook and the blade.
The next mission had us race Yusuf up the Galata Tower, which was another quick tutorial about viewpoints. We can just skip through the climb and into the first leap of faith of the run. Just as we finished the leap of faith, an assassin came to us and told us that some assassin dens were being attacked. Templars were attacking the Galata and Grand Bazaar dens. So without hesitation, Ezio lended his aid to Yusuf and we're now ready to take back the assassin dens. We followed Yusuf through the rooftops and learned how to use zip lines with the Hookblade. As we leapt from roof to roof like stray cats dancing under the night sky, we saw an oblivious Templar served like a mouse on a silver platter. Yusuf took this moment to teach Ezio how to air assassinate while riding a zipline. However, since I was ghosting, I tried to avoid killing the guard. To do this, I simply slid through the zipline and ignored the soldier that I was supposed to assassinate. The soldier did become suspicious and his SSI meter almost went full red. Almost. Luckily, I managed to hang on the eave of the rooftop and hid from the searching soldier. However, despite him leaving the suspicious status, the soldier was not moving. So I had to shimmy and crawl my way to the side of the buildings until I could reach a spot where I could get up and the soldier would not see me. Once I got up, I climbed back down to Yusuf, making sure that the soldier didn't see me. Fortunately, it was a foolproof plan and I managed to proc the cutscene and move on to the next part. Here, Yusuf tells Ezio that we need to split up. I was to stay in Galata while Yusuf went to the bazaar. After the cutscene, the soldier before has now disappeared, which was great, since he would have detected me if he was still there. Anyway, I went ahead and made my way to the Galata Tower. As I reached the tower, I saw a glowing assassin who initiated the first tower defense game in the history of Assassin's Creed. Now in this mini-game, I do need to kill enemies to progress. At first, I played the defense game as usual, planting troops on the rooftops but also using my gun to shoot at enemies. Fortunately, I did realize that I was killing enemies directly, which may or may not be aligned with the ghost run. However, since I have been choosing non-lethal ways to take out the enemies, I decided to reload and make sure that the enemies are only killed by my assassins. So this meant I cannot use my gun during the minigame. This decision did slow down the gameplay a little bit, but just a little. I then eventually managed to successfully defend the Galatan Den. After that, it was time to head to the bazaar den. To get there, I had to take a boat and cross the water. As I got onto the next harbor, I found Yusuf fighting 3 soldiers, so I had to help him. Similar to what I've been doing before, I equipped my fist and beat up my enemies until they were knocked out. It did take more than a few punches even with Yusuf's help, but Ezio managed. We then had to follow Yusuf to the bazaar den since he wasn't able to defend the place and the Templars had taken it now. The walk to the den wasn't that long, but there were a couple of pauses along the way and Yusuf had a lot to say about things. As we're walking, we get into the cutscene where Yusuf shows Ezio the cherry bomb, a stealth tool for distracting enemies. Ezio saw how instead of using a smoke bomb to eliminate multiple enemies unseen, he can simply distract them and go on about his day. Who would have thought? Anyway, when we saw another group of enemies, it was Ezio's turn to use the cherry bomb. It was a straightforward tutorial, so nothing much to say there. We just throw the bomb and move once the enemies were displaced. After that tutorial, we made our way up to the rooftops and eventually got a bird's eye view of the situation. Here, Yusuf tells me that I need to kill a Templar captain to take back the assassin den. Now, this was great for the ghost run. I only had one target, the Templar captain. I don't need to kill anyone else, I just have to climb the tower to finish the mission. And so the attack against the bazaar den started. Yusuf threw a cherry bomb to initiate the attack. Similar to the zipline situation before, this section also tempted me with a zipline air assassination. Fortunately, I was able to continue the mission despite choosing to ignore the soldier. Next, it was time to find the captain. To do this, I simply had to use my eagle vision and spot the guy glowing gold. Since this was basically a tutorial mission, I found the captain quickly. So the next part was to assassinate him. Of course, this wasn't easy, especially since I'm ghosting. Despite being an early level, there are quite a number of guards on the ground and rooftops, so I had to scout a bit to find the perfect spot to assassinate him. I ended up entering the area and making my way into a haystack. I was hoping he'll move and I might have time to do a haystack assassination, but he wasn't moving at all, so I then decided to use the cherry bomb to force him to move. I was hoping that he'll stand and stay near the haystack and I could assassinate him then. He did inspect the haystack and stay there. However, 2 guards also stayed with him, meaning that I could not assassinate him up close without getting spotted. After a bit of pondering, I realized that I might be able to kill him with a throwing knife. I could get a decent angle where he was the only one exposed. allowing me to throw just one knife, directly at my target. And I succeeded. I was able to throw just one knife and kill him without being seen. I then made my escape by simply climbing the closest wall and getting out of the area. It was great and I thought I was finished. However, as I was making my way to the tower, I misclicked and ended up shoving a civilian, which alerted the nearby guard. The guard saw what I did clear as day, and the optional objective to avoid conflict even failed. So it was clear that I was spotted. And so I had to reload and try again. It was at this moment I realized that reloading meant I had to stay from when I helped Yusuf at the docks. This meant I had to go through the cherry bomb tutorial again and other cutscenes. So yeah, just know that I simply redid the things I've done before and then made it back to the captain. During my second attempt, I tried to recreate what I did before using the cherry bomb. Now I know that I did not throw it at the exact spot that I did before, but it was simply to try and see how the captain behaves. I did enter the area again to find an angle, however, I was quickly spotted by a nearby guard, so I had to reload again. During the third attempt, I learned that there is a move called hook and throw, which I can use to counter an enemy and knock them out instantly. This became my go-to move when I had to retry the mission again, since it was faster than just punching them. Now, I won't talk about every attempt that I made since there were a lot. Just know that I've been experimenting with the cherry bomb to see the captain's and guards' reactions. I tried finding another way to use the throwing knives, but all attempts were moot. So moving on, in my successful attempt, I used the cherry bomb to lure the captain to the streets. I thought that this was a good place to assassinate him since he will be away from his guards. However, unlike his reaction to the haystack, he would go back to his previous position after inspecting the cherry bomb noise. I ended up using all my cherry bombs in an attempt to break that pattern. Still, I only had 2 cherry bombs, so I ran out fast. After this, I was planning to reload the game. However, an idea popped into my head. I entered the area where the captain was, making sure I was unseen. And after looking at his and the other guard's position, I was confident that my plan would work. I angled myself in a way that his SSI meter began filling up. I wanted to lure him into a corner, potentially isolating him. I was careful not to accidentally alert him fully. Eventually, he decided to investigate and made his way into the corner. I made sure to climb onto the wall to prevent him from seeing me. He went past me and looked at the wall as if he was staring at a classical painting. I looked down on him, knowing that it was his time now. I clicked my mouse and assassinated my target. The kill was perfect, isolated from peering eyes and provided me a quick way for escape. Now it was time to get to the tower. To make sure that I don't make the same mistake as before, I took it slow and made sure that I don't accidentally jump in front of another guard. Eventually, I made it on top of the tower and concluded sequence 2 of Revelations.